like to work at a company like or even someone to the Army, and I gave a presentation with them, I had no idea about the amount of possibilities that were there. It's the idea that today, if you walk away with the knowledge and the thought of what are the possibilities of not the finite career or working with a finite company, but the possibilities within that company that fit you, that fit exactly who you are and what you should be doing, that's a great thing from today. That's really what you want to do. So those questions that you're going to ask me, what is it like? Think about the personality side of what is it like to do something. What is it like to be working for a large company? What is it like to be working for a small company? What is it like to work for your own company? Those are all considerations. And do you have the personality and the skill set within you to do it? And if you don't have it within you to do it, what are you willing to do to get that skill set? If you want to manage your own company, you have to understand what it's like to manage a company. Where do you get that knowledge from?
There we go. We're live here. We'll turn this over here a little bit. We're good. We're good. What a day it has been. We're a little cockeyed there. Crooked, not straight, a little bit off center. I think I'm always a little bit off center. We got the eye gall. Got a pair of binoculars up there. That's what that one is. And the helmet. My son's helmet back in the day. All right, anyhow, let's get real over here. Let's get real. What are we getting real about? What is it like to really work at a company? How many manufacturing companies are there? How many companies are there? Unbelievable. It's just incredible. And most important question is how many companies are out there that care? They care. They care about the employees. They care about who they're hiring. Oh, and there's so many reasons why one would care about their hiring, but they really are looking for people, and not just people, but the right people. How do they do it? It's complicated. It's hard. How does it all happen? And every time. And this is what I was at today. I was at a Smithtown High School career day today. Great stuff. And every time I go to these things, I'm always amazed by some of the regulars that show up at it. And met a couple of friends that are business associates, friends. It gets to be a blurry line in there after a while. That are there. Ron Loveland, there. He was there yesterday too, over at Allendale, Haas Machinery. The event, the Education Day event that they had over in Bohemia. Great stuff. The companies that participated in that were there as part of it. Great stuff. Suffolk Community College was there. Why? Well, some of the reason is they use some of the Haas machinery. They use the machinery that makes things in order for them to further their workforce development program. This way, students can get certified with operating these machines and then go to work. Not just in jobs, but in careers, good paying careers. I don't know, there's the argument over here about going to college, not going to college, all the rest of that stuff. You want to know something? I kind of wish I went to work then school, not the other way around. I would have had a better understanding of perhaps me, depending upon where I wound up. Although I did wind up in a place that I thought was unbelievably exciting. As I explained it to somebody, my uncle was the one who kind of guided me into that first job. And it was in between my last 2 semesters of college. He asked me what I wanted to do for a living. I said, I don't know. He said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go work down in this particular industry, and you're going to do the 3 weeks or so in between semesters. And whether you like it, you don't like it, it doesn't make a difference. You're going to do it. You're going to appreciate doing it, and you're going to do everything that they tell you to do, regardless of whatever it is. It's like, okay. He goes, they want you to get, I'm dating myself, Subway tokens. You're going to say, yes. How many? They want you to get hot dogs, conditions. Yeah, I was in New York City. You're going to say, yes. How many? They want you to do any run for anything. You just do it and say yes. I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I had a great time. They never asked me to get hot dogs. More conditions. I don't even think they asked me to get a Subway token. But what they did teach me was the fact that I should have confidence. That's what they taught me. Did they know they were going to teach me that? Absolutely not. Did my uncle have any idea about that? Absolutely not. He just didn't want me to not do anything between those last semesters and maybe come out of college with some idea as to what the heck I really wanted to do. Instead of just saying, hey, I got a degree in what? Business economics. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what it means. But what I learned while I was there in this couple of weeks, you ready for this? It was all about communication skills. I will put the comments up so I didn't do that. Doug, good afternoon to you and my lovely wife, Karen. Good afternoon to you. I say that like I didn't see her like 10 minutes ago. but anyhow, I learned confidence and communication skills. Oh, yeah. The hard way. Yeah. Why? Because I was accused of filling out a, oh, yeah, because you're gonna hate this one too. I was accused of filling out a card where you have to use a number 2 pencil and circle in the box. You put the computer card into the system and then the system reads it. If that circle is not completely filled in, or you went yourself crazy with that pencil and drew all over the place and the computer gets confused. Yeah, in those days, computers got confused. Computer got confused, it came out. So my job was to fill in the cards. Occasionally, a few other people did too. So I did it. I filled in the card. The card rejects. It's like, oh, guy that's in front of me, that was who I'm reporting to. So, gotta be more careful. Yes, sir. Uncle told me you just agree, Brian. That's all you do. You just yes. That's it. Just yes. Okay. So we're doing this whole thing. And he fills out some of these cards. I fill out some of these cards, and another one rejects. Turns around to me. He said, "I told you to be careful." I was like, "Yes." And then again, it happens. I took a look at that card. It wasn't my card. It was his card. So I was like, "Okay." Well, this guy Bob wrote a book about keeping somebody on your shoulder. So I have my uncle on my shoulder over here, hypothetically, of course. And Uncle, just say yes. Whatever they tell you, you just say yes. You're glad to be there and all the rest of that stuff. Then I got this, let's call it a chip on the shoulder, on my left shoulder. And I'm thinking, hey, my card, you dumb dingo schnook. I might have used different words. And then this guy yells at me. He yells at me because I told you the card has to be right. Da, 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 da. What's wrong with you? All the rest of this stuff. Paraphrasing, it was, my gosh, it was 40 years ago. But I remember it. It shows you what kind of an impact it had. So now my uncle says to me, hypothetically, just agree with him. My chip says to me, this guy's a moron. Now, I can't call this guy a moron. I mean, there's some decorum that goes along with it. So I told him, I said, look, that wasn't my card. That was your card. It was one of your cards that got rejected. He blasts me. He blasts me about accusing him. I was like, oh, and I was sure that was your card. Well, my uncle kind of, he stepped aside and my chip got a little bit bigger. And I yelled back at him. Totally wrong. I yelled back at this guy. It's like, again, I don't remember exactly what I said. So while we're in that situation, so it's me, I'm reporting to this guy, but the guy that he reports to, one of the partners at the firm, is standing right next to him, and I had no idea that he was listening in on this thing. And so we went back and forth. That guy in front of me that I reported to came to realize it was his card, not my card. I don't remember if he apologized or not. Really didn't make a difference. But the partner, the other guy, the one who's in charge of the whole thing, turns around to me. He goes, man, you learned lesson number 1. You don't take crap from anybody, anywhere, regardless of their title. I'm like, I won't tell you what I said, what I think I said, but I kind of remember now what I said, but I don't know. But It wasn't just a thumbs up. I was like, wow. So here we are 40 years later. What did I learn? I like that. I like the fact you're able to communicate openly in that environment. It was, one of those environments where you're able to do that. So what I did was actually appropriate and called for, but it kind of just, whatever. Sorry about that, Uncle. Kind of went against the grain on your line of thinking there, but so be it. But I learned something. But it seems like every time we do stuff, we learn things. Today was absolutely no exception. Doug got the thumbs up. Round of applause. There you go. I got the camera on an angle here. But no matter what it is that we do, we learn stuff. Doug, I mean, I got tons of examples of spending some time with Doug. Doug's in a wheelchair, about learning about what it's like to be in a wheelchair. I wouldn't have known it unless I spent that time doing that. When I was down there working with those folks, you know what I learned? I learned about confidence. I learned you have to have confidence. And that confidence has to be something you take with you as you go through. There has to be your uncle on your shoulder. And there's a gentleman, Bob Lipp, he wrote a book about that whole thing. But there has to be that a little bit of decorum on your shoulder over there. But that attitude has to be there. Not arrogance, not cockiness, but confidence, just straight up confidence has to be there. Because without these two things, one, if this side of you, the uncle side of you, doesn't give a darn about anybody, people are not going to give a darn about you and going to find you to be a jerk. And they're not going to want to work with you. They won't refer you. They won't do anything. You won't get promoted. You're not going to be liked with your coworkers, whether they say something to you or not. It just is not. You know that. Hopefully you learned that in high school too. When you were hanging out with all your friends, it wasn't your way all the time, was it? You learned how to compromise. You learned how to work together as a team. You learned how to decide where to go as a group of people. You might not have known that, but you did. You learned that. You learned how to negotiate each and every day when you're doing that. What about as a kid? I'm talking about as a kid. I'm talking about a kid before you even learned how to speak. You learned how to negotiate, didn't you not? You learned how to communicate. You didn't know full sentences, but you learned how to communicate. You knew when you wanted something, you cried. Who'd you cry to? Well, if dad didn't care, mom usually does. So you cried. You begged. You pouted. You can't do that at work, so you got to improve upon your communication skills. But you build confidence by doing that stuff. You build arrogance if you get away with everything all the time. So you can't get away with everything all the time. So I ain't no parenting skills coach or anything like that. So go get the book on that. But I can tell you that if you're raising kids, you got to raise them where they have confidence in their decision. Right or wrong, they do need to have confidence. Not too much, not a little, and balance it out with the uncle side of the shoulder and the arrogance. But you need the confidence in order to move forward. You need the confidence to learn every time you go someplace. You need the confidence to say, which is something I said quite frequently today at this career day over at the Smithtown High School, is like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I try to make an effort of knowing the businesses that are in around here. But I didn't know that. I didn't know the extent of the robotics programs that these schools have. This one had a robotics program, had the robot over there catching a ball, throwing the ball back, and doing a few other things. That was built by the students. I didn't know that they asked those students to go out there and speak to the businesses that were participating, because these students were in some sort of a program, taking some sort of a class, some sort of elective, had something to do with career, business, robotics, STEM, that magic word STEM. That is a very good four-letter word. STEM might even be more important than automotive. Just want to make sure Errol's not here, Chris and the rest of that team. But then again, it's the STEM program of Oceanside High School that built the car. And all the stuff they learn in STEM all gets applied to working on those cars. Race car, street car, high performance car, high mileage car, high impact car, autonomous car. Man, that was the wildest thing I learned yesterday about it like that. An autonomous car race on one of the major speedways. Who knew? Who knew these things happen? They did, and we learned from it. Today's takeaway. So I went to the career day, and they had, I don't know how many businesses. I'm going to pick a number of 30. I don't know if that's really 100% accurate or not. Doug, I agree with you 100%. There we go. Learn something new every day, even if you are 2 or 99 years of age, without a doubt. I was kidding around about something yesterday. If I'm still working at 100, it's going to be a party. Probably a very slow party, but a party, just the same. But today, so let's assume there was 30 companies participating, whatever it was. I could tell you that I didn't know most of those companies. I never even heard of most of those companies. And when I saw those company names and logos, I had no clue in the world, as what they were doing. If you were in the industry of those people, and a lot of this was the manufacturing crowd, and maybe that's because Ron invited him down there, but whatever it was, but if they were in the manufacturing world, you kind of knew it. But if you weren't, you didn't know. You didn't know. I was kidding around about this with somebody that was there, that was in a related business, but not manufacturing per se, a little bit more on the school side of things. I was kidding. I was like, I had no idea these businesses existed. And the reason is they're not household names. These are business to business names. So that would be one. Two, they're tucked away in these industrial parks that are all over the place. I don't drive through an industrial park looking at companies' names. And if I did every once in a while, what are you going to remember? Not going to see it. They don't advertise on TV. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. They're there. And probably the most important thing, but not knowing them, hey, Chris, there you go, is that I don't know. Now I'm thinking if I don't know they're there, maybe these students didn't know they're there. And if the students didn't know that they are there, maybe the students don't know the fact that these are unbelievable careers for those who want to work with their hands. And I'm not talking about getting dirty here. A lot of these machines that we're operating, you were taking a very, very clean piece of steel or some other item. You were putting into a machine that was going to shape that piece of metal into something else. Where are you getting your hands dirty? You're not. You're not getting your hands dirty at all. So that's not it. And then when the product comes out, not only is it spotless clean because it's going through this milling process, and I'm not going into details there because, again, I don't know, but that product is perfectly clean. Now, maybe you start out by getting your hands dirty in order to learn this stuff, as you probably should. That would make a lot more sense. But these careers are really great careers, high-paying careers, and they're all in demand. It is just one after another that, I spoke with these people, one after another. There was a couple of entrepreneurial companies that were there that still needed installers for some high-tech stuff, but the manufacturers are all looking for employees, like folks to work these machines, tech jobs. Some of the smaller companies and even some of the bigger companies were still looking for salespeople, which also means, well, you're not getting hands dirty, but two, it means you got to understand this stuff. There's opportunities there. I mean, to take a guy like me, I'm not good at building things. My wife will attest to that, and please don't write anything down there. Chris, Doug, you guys know I'd much rather speak than do, and there's a reason, There's a reason for that. I'm not good at building things. I'm okay when it comes to doing something physical, but I'll take that piece of steel. I'll put it in the machine. But when it comes to using a wrench, that's not me. But even that respect, let's assume I really had a true, actually I do have a true interest in this whole thing, in the process, and I understood it, and I was on the side of it, the book smart side of it, where I got it, understood, but just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it with my hands, to make it work. Or couldn't creatively come up with something that, that would fit whatever the need is. That's the aerospace industry. One of the companies here, they're looking for creative types. Oh, reminds me, so is one of the steel manufacturing companies. They're also looking for people to are creative because their customers come to them with issues. They come to them with problems that need to be solved. So let's assume you don't want to get your hands dirty, but you love the whole idea of creating something, of crafting something, of putting something together. You could see what needs to be done, but you'd rather have somebody else do it. Makes for a good partnership, doesn't it? We talked about that with businesses. A startup business, you have somebody, it's like, oh, somebody's a great photographer, just an absolutely phenomenal photographer. Crappy as hell business person, great photographer. The only thing that person wants to do is take that camera, go out there and take photos. Comes to running a business, no. You're a great business person that likes photography, man, that's great. Because now you can operate the business. Photographer goes out and takes the photos, but you understand the capabilities of that photographer. You're not just sending them all over the place. You're not just doing marketing all over the place. You're marketing to a specific segment because you get it. And these machine shops, it's the same thing. A lot of them are looking to hire sales folks that get it, that understand it. You don't have to work on the machines. You got to understand them. You got to know it, but that's not the point. And that was this little speech I gave in the beginning over there. That was at the Brentwood High School. I gave that speech. It's like you might have an interest in something. You have an interest in football, right? Let's assume that you are just love football, but you are not in any way, shape, or form designed to play the game of football on a professional level, right? Ain't happening. And I am not in any way, shape, or form designed to play football. But let's assume I just loved football. Do I have a career in football? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the point of the whole thing. You just have to have a genuine interest in something and then you can go from there. But you got to have the chip and the chip, the chip, the chip was on this side, right? And the confidence, but understand this realistic thing about who you're talking to and how you're doing it. Because if you have that confidence level and you now know that, hey, I know I can't play football, but I know I want to be a part of it. And you walk into some professional football organization and you tell them, look, I love this game. I love this team. I love the town I live in. I want to be part of this football team. And they turn around and laugh at you. You're going to tell them, maybe you just laugh right along with them. You deal with that one as ever you like, but then you tell them why and how you see yourself fitting in on that football team. Because a lot of times, especially if you're younger, right? Those folks may think, oh, here's another overly enthusiastic individual that thinks they could play football. And you're like, no. I may not be able to play football, but darn it, I can announce it. I could give you all the statistics on everything the whole way through. I understand it. I understand the concussions and the rest of that stuff, that part of it. I understand how to market the team. I understand that side of it. Man, that's valuable. And that football team, just as much as they need a good quarterback, linebacker, and all the other positions that are out there, they also need somebody to be the voice of that football team. And if you bring that to the table, you're a valuable member of that team just as well. In fact, I do believe that if a team wins the Super Bowl, everybody on that team, whether they took to the field or not, gets that ring. That's the team. The team won the game, not just the folks on the field. It's the team that won that game, and that's really important. And that's what many of these companies are looking for from a career standpoint. And that has been the biggest takeaway that I have gotten, whether it would be at this event that I went to, at some of the other events I've gone to with the career employment options where they've arranged that, all the stuff even with the township when I was interviewing these companies at their job fairs. It was the same thing. Same thing. They want people that have a genuine interest in it. Genuine interest. Granted, if you could show that you've got the skills and a genuine interest, man, that's a big thing. That definitely is a big thing. But even if you had a genuine interest in something and you knew you couldn't do certain aspects of, but you knew confidence, but you knew exactly what you could bring to that table, you knew exactly where you could fit into that company. That's great. That is great because every company, every nonprofit, just about every effort that's out there, they need some people to be spokespeople about it. They need people to actually do it. They need volunteers behind the scene. They need somebody to keep track of from the accounting side of it. They need somebody on the marketing side of it. They need all this stuff to happen. Otherwise, it's just a one-person show. One-person shows don't succeed. That's called burnout after a while. It just does not succeed. Find your skill and then run with it. Speak to your daughter, son. Speak to students at high school or junior high, elementary school. You want an opportunity to do that? Just stay in touch with me. I'll give you the opportunity to do that. And you could tell those students how important it is for them to find themselves. And maybe you could talk about how you found yourself, and that's why you wound up in the career that you were in. Spoke to a guy today, and it's Smart Tint. It makes tinted windows and screens and all kinds of stuff. You're going to hear more about it. It sounds like a great story. You're also going to hear about another story. Another gentleman I spoke to today that started he takes computer equipment and he shreds it, make sure there's nothing left on it. You want to know why he started that business? And he, like me, had a career, whatever, wanted to do something different, or this fell into his lap, or maybe it carried in his arms because he was cleaning out his basement. And they wound up with a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of old computers too, a whole bunch of old data disks there. And he's like, what do we do with these things? And he decided to make sure that they were shredded and recycled properly. He now has that business. He has now started that business where everything gets shredded and recycled properly and disposed of properly on all your sensitive data that's in all of these computers, your telephones, and absolutely everything, that's there. So that was pretty interesting. So he works with another company that does cybersecurity, and then he falls into the place here when those computers, drives all need to be upgraded. He gets the old stuff, disposes of it properly, and you got something new again. But how did he come to that? Because he was cleaning out his basement. And they kept coming up with boxes and boxes of stuff. And he decided to take matters into his own hand and do the work. And he's decided, hey, if I got this, so do other people. That, my friend, is seeing the opportunity in every challenge. Do that. Talk about it, share it, join me on some of these career days. They'll be coming up again, rest assured, and I hope to see you there. And you will get an opportunity at those things to do what? To speak well, to speak often, and to live inspired. And especially at a career day, you will inspire others to do exactly the same thing. And my guess is these students, in turn, are going to wind up giving you a little bit more motivation to go out there and do it as well. So make that happen. All right, here we go. Whatever day of the week it is. It's Thursday, back on Friday. I'm so far behind with photos and all the rest of that stuff. Maybe we'll get to that. You just have yourself an absolutely wonderful day. Enjoy the weather. It's all good stuff. All right, Doug, Chris, Karen, we'll talk to everybody soon. Karen, I'll talk to you in about a minute as I leave the studio and move into the company break room. I got to go to the kitchen, eat lunch. All right. Music, maestro. Brand rock. What do you think about this rock music? Good, bad, indifferent? Whatever. Bring back the tomato. Ta-dam.